I'm live. Look at that. Live on YouTube, 6 seconds in. And I have to work out how to get this into that. I don't know how to do that. Let's drop this a little bit. Not too close. One person, one thumb up. Hello, Sarah. Sorry. So this should be headphones. Headphones. Well, that happened quickly. So can I change my mic settings? Hey, hello, Tim Hughes. Hi there. Is that audio coming through? Do you guys hear me through the... Hi, Aaron. Do you guys hear me through the thing? Oh, man. Good morning, morning. Yep. We can hear me. Can you? Is it yes, loud and clear? Okay, that's great. That's a good thing. Let me close the door. Okay. Audio is good. That's wonderful. So I tried doing this through my desktop and didn't have much joy. What happened was the live tab on YouTube just kept loading and loading and loading. For some reason, I don't know what that's about because it worked fine on my laptop. It's pretty mysterious. And, you know, there's lots of these weird little bugs like, my phone's blowing up now. Great. Let's turn that off. So what I wanted to talk about today was just go through a couple of different lighting setups at different, like the ones that I mainly use for YouTube, and see what you guys think of them and how I do that. Yeah, it is up and running now. Keeping the light off the background. Good question, Eric. There is about, well, let me talk you guys through this. We have Sigma FP with that 24-70 2.8 Canon lens on it, which will be helpful when I should be able to zoom out and show you guys the setup, more of the setup. And then we have about, I think the focal distance is about 6 feet. So it's 6 foot to me. And then right now I just have the most basic one, which is Quasar T8 here on a little squeezy dimmer. So that's nothing, that's full. And I'm just adjusting that until my skin tone looks about right. Then I have the Yongnuo, you know, these little $80 light sticks, which is giving me uplight fill. And then behind me, I have the, this is the Luxley, what's it called? Timpani with the Intelitech pocket on it. And that is lighting the background. It's just resting on its yoke on the ground. You guys can see that. Like the yoke's at 90 degrees and it's just on an apple box facing upwards. So the reason that it's not, this key light isn't hitting the background is that it's another 6 or 7 feet. and the key light is mainly lighting me. I guess if I turn it this way and do this, it'll give the background some light, but not really. Man, this adds a lot of contrast. Yeah, it is up and running. Hi, Sarah. No idea how long my poor little processor will keep up with this in the MacBook Air. Let me close other things. Let me close other tabs. Oh, wow, I've got a lot of stuff open. Okay, now there's just Chrome open. That should help. How is the Quasar mounted? It is on a, let me zoom out and I'll show you guys. Look, there we go. Quasar is mounted on like a little Mathellini clamp. Same thing that this is mounted to. So basically you just have a little clamp like that that sits at a right angle. There we go. Sits at a right angle, and then this goes on top of a lighting stand, and then you just sort of clamp down on it. What I like about these is that it holds it at a 45-degree angle, or at least the Yongnuos, and then Quasar T8s are even smaller, as you can see through this. Oh, great, Devin. What mic am I using? It is, let me see if I can mute it before I take it off the thing. No, it is a Senel. I think it's B&H's brand. And I have it on a Saramonic XLR adapter. And then I have the other part of it here, which is plugged into my laptop. $33 people. Another couple lights I have going on here, and I'll zoom back in again. The Rode NTG5, I have not used it. Yeah, well, basically I could just do this in sort of swaths. Right, you start off with no light at all. Well, there's a little bit of light leaking from the side here. You bring up your key light, and you see that it creates these really deep shadows in my face. So then you bring in your fill light, which sort of fills those shadows in. Then you add your backlight. And if you want to, you could add a 3/4 light. So this is a little bit bold. This is a this is sort of like another tube style light in a honeycomb DOP Choices box. And what I would do with this is sort of have it behind me at 3/4, and that's going to give me that 3/4 kick to one side. If I move my key light to this side, I'm trying to look at this at the same time, you'll see more of it. So if I turn it off, you can see what this is doing. Yeah, you do not want to hear me play guitar. It's pretty terrible. South4 AutoWalks wants to know what tools I'm using. Sigma FP plugged in just via USB-C to the computer. It has a USB-C port that lets you live stream from it. Disadvantage of that is that once this runs out of batteries, the live stream will be over. And because YouTube doesn't let you pause or swap your chat, I guess once I run out of batteries, I'm done. I definitely, Jules Frederick is asking whether it's fill or bounce. I always prefer to use direct light as a fill. I don't like bouncing light in. Let me show you how that looks. So instead of using my other light here, I was just to use, let's see how to do this. I was use a piece of white cardboard like this to bounce the light back. You get a much less noticeable fill light. But I kind of like direct fill light. I think it pops more. I think it's a little less natural. So I feel like it's a little more, a little less realistic. But I like that. I like it. Feels more cinematic to me. Do I sometimes feel like God when lighting? You're playing with the sun. I don't know how to answer that. I definitely do feel like God when I'm writing screenplays, because you have these little people that you've created, and then you're putting them in all kinds of scenarios and testing them and pulling them apart and torturing them. It certainly does feel like creating a world. I enjoy that part of it. Yes, I think it's power, pure power. And I think that it's all humans desire that. And I think filmmaking is a pretty safe place to exercise it, if there ever is a safe exercise of power. Before my laptop dies, let me bring in a different key light. Okay, I'm working over here. You guys can hear me? Wow, that really is in the frame, huh? How far did I come with the feature? I got through the first 7 days before we had to shut down because of the virus. So I've got 7 days worth of footage to edit and do BTS on before I shoot the rest of it. Okay, so we're going to fade off our quasar. I'll zoom in again. I just keep that with my foot, or to turn off by itself. Okay, so we have replaced the single bulb T8 quasar with the Intellitrack LC100. This is a 2x1. It has a grid on it, and what I've done is move the quasar now back to behind me to give a backlight, and I can just dress that down so that it's just sort of a nice kind of rim that kind of cuts me out from the outside. I have the LC100 dial here, so I can get my exposure. No, this way. I can get my color temperature, so I can go a very white, or I can go a warm. So this is 15% at 4550 or 4600. Oops. So this is basically my kind of typical YouTube setup. I do have the LC120 and the 150, but I like the 100 because it's wide without being too wide. It still gives some sculpture to the face. There's still some shadow here without it being too wide. And it matches the width of my key light, my fill light down here. This is my Lake Champlain t-shirt because I do spend a lot of time in Vermont on the lake. I really, really love it. It's a second home to me. Fast sight technique. Yeah, you see that. Well, let's have a look. I'll get my light meter and we'll look at these things. So the camera is set to 6400 at f3.5. So we're getting a f2.8 or f4. So pretty much on exposure as far as the light goes. And then my rim light is an f2.8. My 3/4 kicker is, oops, a 2.8 as well. I could pan this off and see if it makes a difference. Oh, it actually does make quite a big difference. Multiple catch lights. David Miller's like multiple catch lights in a subject eyes during A-roll. Not multiple catch lights. I mean, I don't think anyone has ever looked at a frame and said, there's just too much light in these people's eyes. They just look too alive. Yeah, I'm just of the opinion that you go for looks and then you go for realism. And I know a lot of DPs out there are like, it has to be motivated. It has to look realistic. And I am always, as the director, I'm like, no, it doesn't. People understand that this is a movie. You know, I would rather I even rather it don't match the wide because the viewer, it only is trying to connect with the face and the thoughts of the characters. They don't care. They know it's a movie, right? It doesn't need to match. We totally understand, right? Like if you go from a dark face to a totally bright face, yes. But if you go from, within a couple stops of it, just people are there to connect with these characters. They're not there to be like, is this a movie? Is it real? Everyone knows it's not real. Have I ever seen Champ in the lake? I do have a Champ t-shirt. I have definitely seen Champ waves. I've been almost knocked out of my boat by a Champ wave. And I have been struck by lightning in Lake Champlain, which I don't know that many people can say they did. I was swimming and I thought I was bitten by a fish, and I swam up to the surface and heard a huge crack of thunder and realized that lightning had struck the lake, traveled through Lake Champlain, and mildly electrocuted me, and I knew it was time to get out of the water. Lighting with glasses on is very tough. Let me see if I have some. I thought I got some prop ones. Oh yeah, well, here's some sunglasses, right? You can see the light in the glasses. So what you have to do is raise this up and twist it. Oops. Raise this up and twist it. Right now, I've still got illumination, but at least at this angle, you've lost the light. So basically, you just have to get it out of the, this bottom one. It's always going to be there unless you drop it really far away. But if you're lighting a documentary and the people are talking, most people don't wear their glasses to talk with typically. But yes, the bigger, the softer the source, the better, because it won't do a hard highlight like I just did. This little laptop's holding together really well. I'm pretty proud of it. 35 people. Love your channel. Thank you for sharing, creating such a great content. You're welcome. I have a problem with this and it drives me nuts. Yes, the glasses. I think what you need to do is, or there are a couple of different solutions. One is light as though you're using a window, so that if people see the reflection of the window, it won't be the reflection of the lights. So actually Intellitek, the guys that make this, make a really great, it's an LC150, and you can get it in a kit of 2. And when you fold it out and stick it on this Velcro board, it just looks like a window. And you just kind of carry it around and move it wherever you want. So it means you can put your actors right next to a window, and you can change the color temperature of the window wherever you want. Yeah, LC150 kit, it's very worth it. Make a video on the Z6 ProRes RAW. What's the Z6? Is that I'm guessing that's a Nikon? LC160, my apologies, Aaron. Yeah, it's the LC160 kit. I definitely did a video on it, but essentially, if you look on my Instagram too, there's a whole bunch of pictures on there with a model called Madison Fitz, and it's like 3 feet by 2 feet or 3.5 feet by 2.5 feet, and it's basically 8 panels that look like a door or a window, and it means you can light in a way that just looks like you're moving a window around. And if you're getting reflections or you're getting glasses, or people are wearing shiny stuff and you can see the lights in them, that's a good way to do it. Let me fix my lighting. Actually, I can zoom out so you guys can see what's happening again. So LC100, Yongnuo Quasar T8. Whoa, you can see the light stand bending. This is the, and then Timpani. Should I change the color of this? Should we go with a red or a green or something? You guys can see that. How's that? How do I set my white balance in mixed lighting, specifically colored lights? If everyone wants me to, I will try and play that guitar later. But yeah, mixed lighting temperature. I mean, lighting temperature makes other lights turn to white. So if you're shooting with tungsten stock or tungsten balance, tungsten lights, orange lights will appear white. If you're dealing with lots of colored lights, if you set your white balance and you're to those lights, they'll just appear white again, which is not what usually not what you want. you want your lights to appear colored. So if you set to daylight, your color lights are going to give the colors that you want them to. There is a couple of different things with mixing color temperatures with this. Hey, thanks, Dabby. Sometimes it can be kind of fun to use a warmer fill. So let me zoom back in. So that's we're still set to, that's my white key. And then this is a warm fill. It is a two-tone color temperature, which I think adds a little bit of interest. It can fill in the face with different things. That's probably too extreme. Let me try 2 points of white and 2 points of, there we go. And I might turn this down a fraction. Probably too far. There we go. Did I lose? Oh, green's just not as sensitive. Let me turn it up all this up all the way. Wow. For some reason, this green is a lot less sensitive than white. Do you expose the windows, then bring up the exposure inside? Sarah wants to know, there are many types of shadows on the face, and there are many feelings of every single type of shadow. Which one should make in documentary films like interviews? It's a good question. Depends what feeling you want your documentary subjects to have, right? Like, this is extreme, but you would not get away with lighting a nun like this. This is like horror lighting. So usually in documentaries, you're trying to make the person look good. So you want nice, big, wide, soft sources, and slightly smaller, punchier sources for men to make them look tough and rugged. There are lots of, basically, I always start with 45 degrees above and 45 degrees to the side for lighting. That can give a nice far light. And then basically, if the person has not deformities, but like a better side of their face, then that's the one you go with. So if you ask someone to smile like this, you'll notice that most people have a smaller eye. I definitely do. I don't remember which one it is. I think it's this one. So if you put that one closer to the camera, it'll appear bigger, and the person's face will seem more symmetrical, which is a pleasing factor in faces. So that's one trick of documentary filmmaking. Another one is really you're just going for depth. So it really helps to have key back and fill, meaning like if I don't have this backlight here, right, or I don't have this backlight here, now I just sort of fade into the background. But if I slowly start adding in my key light, right, suddenly I feel more three-dimensional. I pop a lot more. Angel Raven wants to know, a quick question between Intellitek 120 and the Falconize alternatives. Would you recommend? I own a Falconize and I own lots of Intellitek, and I have had problems with the Falconize, but I've never had problems with Intellitek. So Falconize, Intellitek is a great company. I've done a lot of work with them. I own lots of their lights. I've done work for them, for their YouTube channel, and use their stuff a ton. Falconize is basically Falconize weren't able to sell a lot of their stuff through Amazon because of the patents that they'd sort of broken, and now they sell it through eBay. And they decided just to go the whole hog, and like if they're gonna get sued, sued by everyone. And so now they're naming their lights after Marvel characters. Right? They have a stabilizer rig called the Thanos, and they have something else called the, I forget. Yeah, they emailed me to review one of their lights the other day, and I was pretty shocked that they were just kind of openly copyright violating Disney of all people. So yeah, I would go with the Intellideck. The best millimeter for headshot interviews, 85 or 50. Totally depends if you're on a full frame or a Super 35 or a Micro Four Thirds. I would definitely go with the 50 on the full frame, which is equivalent to the 70, 85 on the. No, hold on. Now I confused myself. The 50 on the Super 35 is pretty good. It's the equivalent of the 80 on the full frame. I went to a Catholic high school. That lighting would be appropriate. Totally true. An old talked about window exposure. That's true. Titan X2 around. Yeah, I actually have reviewed the Titan X2. It's a pretty great light. Electronic diffusion is a trendy thing. So the electronic diffusion on the Titan X2 is sort of like a piece of plastic that once you put a charge through it becomes opaque. And it definitely works to illuminate the multi-shadows of the LEDs, but it certainly doesn't make the source larger. So there are two things that, putting a piece of diffusion over your light will get rid of that multiple LED effect. And that's what that does. It doesn't make the source larger. Like the X2 is a 2x1, like the SkyPanel 60. It won't make, it won't have the same effect as putting that same light through a 4x4 frame, which is what you would need to do if you want a bigger, softer source. It's a nice cosmetic effect, but it's not real. It's not diffusion in the way that most filmmakers would use on set. $50 on Super 35. Correct. Did I say that? Yes. The 50 mil on the Super 35 is what I use for my YouTubes. I use the C200 with a 50 mil 1.4 on it. That's my go-to. Yes, the crop between a full frame and a Super 35 is 1.5. So essentially a one lens length. So 50 to 75 to 120. This is going way better than I thought it would. Let me check the battery level on the Sigma. It's about 1/3 left. Are there any other DPs that people would like to see me do a shoot like Chivo or shoot like Roger Deakins or Bob Richardson? I was thinking of doing a Wally Pfister one for the whole Dark Knight, Chris Nolan things. What budget lights do you recommend? Quasar T8s are only about $80. The Yongnuo light thing is only about $80. And then what else? They're the two I'd start with. Outside during the middle of the day, without much cloud, what lights do you on a small budget to provide fill? Good question. I would basically, there's nothing. If you have sun at midday or during the day without much cloud, the only way to get enough fill to fill out the shadows created by the sun is a mirror to reflect the sun back at the person. If you imagine a person sitting there with the sun in their eyes and then a mirror with the sun in their eyes, it starts to look like a Sergio Leone Western where the Clint Eastwood is doing this the whole time. That's actually why he has that look on his face, because they had him in a hat and then they had mirrors reflecting the sun back at him, or reflectors, and he was like Clint Eastwood. So the better way to do it is bring in at least a 4x4, probably a 6x6 or a 10x10 or 20x20, something of diffusion to lessen the impact of the sun, and that'll give you a nice big soft lighting. That'll also you can also then bounce sun back in. There aren't too many commercial, especially nothing budget, that is going to let you even out the sun. I do have one there called the Cream Source Space X, which is a 1500 watt LED, RGB LED. It's pretty hardcore. It's $6,500. I got a cue from Tommy Calloway. That's right. I did. Devin Miller, when shooting outside, oh yeah, that was one I read. "36 minutes in. My poor little laptop is really cranking the fan, but hasn't died yet. Should go straight out of camera look or the neutral white look, because I've seen many colorists first do the neutral white look and then the look they want. You should definitely, if you're planning on coloring your footage, you should shoot in log or something that's not colored by the camera. I have the teal and orange look of this camera set right now because, oh, that's totally why the green has disappeared. Now I understand, because this is very bright and very green, but the camera must be messing with it somehow because I have the teal and orange look set to it. Like Sigma has a couple of preset looks, one of them being teal and orange. So I decided to play with that. And once you start, you can't change it. I don't have the coronavirus, I just have a cough. Yeah, you definitely want to shoot log or raw and then color from that. That means it's really important to get your white balance set and your tint set. Tint being the green magenta axis. Lots of older lights or even older cameras have a lot of green or magenta tint to them. Now I want to know who. "28 people. Any more questions? I feel like there's been a lull. 26 people. How do you like people with glasses? It's always a struggle with the shadows. Yes, it is. People with glasses, you can ask them to take their glasses off. You can, if you're shooting something interview style, right? If you're shooting something interview style, here's the person's glasses. You can either, you're right, if you have them this way talking right to camera, you see the lights. But if you face them away further and further, like you move the interviewer, like there's a place here where you can't see the lights in the glasses. I know, obviously, you're not going to interview someone with sunglasses on, but I'm talking about eyeglasses. So you can move the interviewer so that you can't see the lights. You can move the lights further off camera this way so that you can't see the lights. And you can use as big as sources as you can so that the shadows of the glasses don't create distracting lines on their face. Have I tried the Godox light? I never have. I know that they're a very cool budget alternative to aperture, but I haven't. Which ISO should you control location like a film studio? Good question. I shoot like ISO 400 and then even lower with RAW so that I don't get noise. Because ISO 800 on that C200 is pretty noisy. They've fixed it with the C500 Mark II. We were shooting 800 the whole time on my feature. That has the most dynamic range. Oh yeah, Nicholas Winding Refn, Larry Smith, and Tasha Breyer. I don't know enough about those guys. I have to do some research, but that's a good question. Only God Forgives was pretty powerful lighting scenarios. There was some interesting stuff, and there's lots of BTS. Nicholas Winding Refn's wife showed a documentary about how they made that film. So there's heaps of BTS. Talking headpiece, limited space. I mean, we could do what we're doing here with much more limited space. And hold on, for the live stream, downstairs talking heads, again, limited space. Yeah, I would use Teletech LC100, Yongnuo T80, whatever they're called. No, Yongnuo, and then like a Quasar or another Yongnuo for the backlight. I'd say this the standard, like a good default for soft lighting is a light as big as what you're lighting that far away. So right, I'm lighting a space about 1.5 feet wide. So I have a 1.5 foot sized light 1.5 feet away from me. If I wanted, I could have it'll give the same quality of light as a 6 foot source 6 feet away. But since my frame is so tight, I'm able to sneak the lights in closer and get something that's punchier and has more fall off. So that would be my recommendation, right? You have an advantage of shooting a vlog because you're in so tight, you can get the lights closer. You only need to use smaller lights. Filming interviews in a gallery with large windows and tungsten lighting that wasn't totally happy with results. Yeah, mixed stuff like that where you're getting tungsten light inside and daylight coming from outside. The general practice is either blank the windows out or make sure the windows only hit the background and use that as a blue. Set your camera to tungsten and bring tungsten lights or light with tungsten that matches the lights in the gallery, or turn off the lights in the gallery if you're able to, bring in daylight sources that match the outside. Mixed lighting never looks great, right? Like if I have, if I turn this to pure RGB and then have something like this, well, it's too bright, right? Like it just looks muddy and fussy and it doesn't look great at all. Like a little goes a long way with mixed color temperatures. Makes sense. How close can you put the gels in front of LED lights? You can put, you can put it on it, right? Like it's an LED light. It has no warmth whatsoever. It's like touch. Like this is not going to melt anything. Gels. That SpaceX gets pretty hot. Well, not even that hot. What's the hottest LED I have? Probably, I don't even know. Yeah, I don't think any LED is going to get hot enough to melt a gel. Maybe if you put something right against like the Aperture 300D chip, you're going to melt it, but you never do that anyway. Yeah, generally, but a lot of those are RGB as well. So something to remember about gels is the larger the piece of gel the lighting is going through, the more color it's going to put on it. So if you put the gel like right on a light, you're going to get some color. But if you put the light through like a 4x4 of the gel, you're going to get much more color temperature. And that's how they generally do it. If you're trying to use a tungsten light to shoot daylight, you have a 4x4 frame of like CTB, and that daylights the tungsten. If you were just to clip it to the light itself, you get much less color. Oh, great. I want to know what Southport Autoworks is shooting. I'm guessing cars, or is that just your YouTube account and you're a cinematographer by night? I'm a Southpaw. I'm a right-handed Southpaw. That's the thing. Love your channel. What are the best tips for shooting against a large window during daylight? You got a couple options. ND, So neural density filter, you can put that on the window to bring the stop down. You can use a net on a 4x4 frame. Matthews make one called the Road Flags 2 that has a net. It's like an expandable net. There is also, you can also just bring in more light to light the person to match daylight. But the problem with that is you end up hitting this person with so much light to match outdoors that the performance suffers. You get all squinty. What else? They're your three big options. ND the windows, put a net behind them, or bring in more light. So that's 45 minutes. Let me check the battery level of this guy. Yeah, I think it's about to die, guys. I've ordered one from B&H to be able to connect this to at least the AC. So DC AC. So these don't have to be stopped after 45 minutes. But just like gels to a softbox. Gels to a softbox. Oh yeah, automotive repair tutorials. That makes a lot of sense. Gels to softbox is always hard. I would break my own rule and just like, rather than get it to the front of the softbox, put it between the light and the softbox. So then you're not clipping it to the front, you sort of insert it underneath. Yeah, we got 7 days into an 18-day shoot on the feature before we had to stop. But we've got plenty to edit, so I'm gonna do that and then go back when we're allowed to. Thanks so much, guys. Awesome for hanging out. That was 47 minutes. And like I said, I could do this for a while, but the problem is the battery on the Sigma FP only lasts so long. So thanks for all your questions. Thanks for hanging out. Stay safe out there. I'm guessing this will be over pretty soon by the sounds of it. And if it's not, we'll just use this time to become better people, better filmmakers, better humans. Thanks, dudes. I will talk to you soon. Cheers.